All right. So today is December 14th, 2021. This preliminary hearing, misdemeanor preliminary hearing calendar. When I announce the name of the client, would you please give me your announcement? So the first case that I have on my calendar is one Balderus Lara Jr. It says he's a Lister and Hope client.
That's correct, Your Honor. We do represent him. I believe Mr. Lynch, are you handling Mr. Bald? I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, Balderus Lara. I think he may be having some technical difficulties. My understanding is that's going to be a hearing this morning.
Okay.
Kim, you weren't asking if it was me representing Mr. Balderus?
Yes.
Oh, I may have misunderstood. I had thought that I did not meet with Mr. Balderus. That is my mistake.
Okay, Your Honor. Well, if we can just have a brief pre-trial with him, we'll take care of that.
Yeah, we'll work it out. Position 4 is Clifton Bernadine.
Good morning, Judge. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Your Honor, we'd like to waive a preliminary hearing and simply address the issue of bond. That's all we need.
I see a Clifton Bernadine.
How you doing, Your Honor? This is family.
Oh, this is his family.
How you doing?
Okay. Okay, what's the state's announcement as it relates to Mr. Bernadine?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that Mr. Patterson indicated that his client would like to waive prelim. However, Your Honor, it also appeared that Mr. Patterson is requesting bond modification, and the state would just ask for this case to be continued so that the state can prepare and have at least 10 days in order to prepare the necessary witnesses for this case.
Yeah, we're not asking for a bond modification. We're asking for a bond. Because the system showed that he didn't have a bond every time I checked the system.
And we'll go back and circle back to this. My understanding, except on limited circumstances, a person charged with a misdemeanor has the right to a bond.
That's
That
correct.
is correct, Your Honor.
And what's so interesting, Judge, jail all this time without a bond on a misdemeanor. And that's why we would just ask the court to set a bond so we can get him out today.
Well, and we'll come back to that, Mr. Patterson. Ms. Ponder, my understanding is that this charge is not one of the charges where he would be denied bond.
Well, Your Honor, and I apologize. I was believing that the state was believing that Mr. Patterson was asking for a bond modification. However, he did indicate that he was asking for a bond. I do see where on October the 26th, he was considered for a bond and denied. So it was a misunderstanding on my part whether or not he was asking for a bond modification or if he was asking for a bond. And I would agree with the court that these are not one of the exceptions and that it is a misdemeanor and he is entitled to a bond. However, Your Honor, I would still need time to just put things, if there's anything that I need to put on the record far as the incident or his criminal history for the court to consider to perfect the record. And then that is up to the court on what Mr. Bernadine bond will be.
That's fine. But one of the things that I would note, Ms. Ponder, I would love for the state to be present when I'm doing first appearance hearings, either the DA's office or the solicitor's office. So in normal course, if Mr. Bernadine was entitled to bond, no one from the state's office would be there and he would get a bond. So, and that I'm just saying, when you're saying you need time, if in the normal course, if this is a case where he's not prohibited from getting bond, the state wouldn't be there anyway. So do,
Yes, Your Honor.
you see what I'm getting towards?
Yes, Your Honor, I definitely understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that the court during first appearance considered and denied. I'm not sure the reason for it, knowing that, it is a misdemeanor and he is entitled to a bond. So as the court indicated, the DA's office or the solicitor's office was not present. So I'm not really sure what was considered or why he was denied a bond, whether or not he was out on a previous bond. I'm not really sure exactly what was the
Your Honor,
court reason for.
I can,
I'm
I
sorry,
can-
Mr. Patterson.
I'm
I'm not really, no, you're fine. I'm not really sure exactly why the court at first appearance denied him a bond.
I can tell. I
Go
think
ahead,
the
Mr.
court-
Patterson.
I can tell you because I think the court at that time thought that charge was a felony. I think that's what the misunderstanding was.
Okay. Okay. And Ms. Ponder, I'm not laying this at your feet. I understand that you're in sort of maybe the same position that I'm in. But Mr. Patterson, after I call the calendar, I'll take this matter up.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Position number 5 is Trevian Bills.
Your Honor, Owen Lynch, I work with the law firm Lister and Holt. I have spoken to Mr. Bills. I believe he does. Well, he does. And he did indicate he wished to go forward with the preliminary hearing today on this matter.
Okay. Position number 6 is James Browning. And this case was on yesterday's felony preliminary hearing calendar, but these are misdemeanor charges. So it was moved over to this calendar. And I understand that may cause problems, and we may need to continue this case as it relates to notice for the get the officer here.
And Your Honor, we didn't know about that one, so we've not had any contact with Mr. Browning. Was he appointed counsel or did he have private counsel?
It's listing Lister and Holt as the counsel.
Okay. He was obviously not on our original calendar since he was just continued yesterday, so we would need a chance to speak with him as well.
And Your Honor, if we could have that case continue, it's my understanding that our office was not aware that Mr. James Browning was on the calendar, nor do we have officers present on that particular case because we didn't have it on our original calendar when we pulled it yesterday.
And then that is probably going to be what will take place with this case, because I don't even believe that there is a 24-hour notice as it relates to this. But for some unknown reason, it was placed on the felony calendar. So we'll see about that. But it may be something that can get worked out or it may not. I don't know. So I'll just hold and see what Mr. Browning wants to do. Because if the state and the defense work something out, then we can just move this case forward and get it to where it needs to be. But if not, I'm not going to hold the state's feet to the fire on this because of the late notice. Position number 8 is Jamal Clayton.
Your Honor, Owen Lynch with Lister and Holt. I did attempt to speak to Mr. Clayton. The jail informed me that he was refusing to come out and have a conference with me. So I haven't spoken to him. If I could have an opportunity to speak to him, I would appreciate it. And then I'll try to make an appropriate announcement from there.
Yes, sir. Position number 9 is Nathaniel Collins.
Mr. Collins was previously represented by Alfonso Kraft, so we were just need to be appointed on that case, and then we'll speak with him.
Okay. And if you don't know, that's fine. Was this a case where it was originally charged as a felony, and then the DA's office decided to not pursue it as a felony?
I believe so. I don't know that 100%, but I'll be happy to check and get the history for you.
Okay. Position number 10 is Michelle Covington.
Your Honor, according to our records, that case has already been accused and is scheduled for arraignment in Judge Cowan's courtroom on December the 15th.
Okay. Position number 12 is Richard Esenumoa.
Yes, Your Honor. I've spoken to Mr. Esenumoa. One thing I wanted to address with the court is that it appears that he is scheduled for 2 separate preliminary hearings. Our office was, I'm not exactly sure. Our office was appointed to the loitering and possession of marijuana charge as misdemeanor counts. However, he's also charged with crossing the guard line and possession of a drug-related object, which I guess is being treated as a separate incident as it occurred when he was being brought into the jail. And it lists the public defender's office as being appointed to him. So I wasn't exactly sure how to proceed. I did advise him as to a preliminary hearing as to the misdemeanor counts. However, as you know, our office does not represent individuals with felony matters. So I'm not sure if that needs to go to another calendar. I just wanted to bring that before the court. I'm prepared to go forward with the preliminary hearing on the misdemeanor counts. Of course, I couldn't step in and advise him as to his felony matters.
Yes, sir. And this is my second time this year doing preliminary hearings, and Ms. Gross is keenly aware of my mistake that I made on a client that's here today. I don't understand the reasoning of parsing out cases. And you're correct. You don't represent him on the felony charge. And on my calendar, they have the public defender's office on the use or possession of drug-related objects charge, which is also a misdemeanor.
I think that may be because it maybe happened with the crossing the guard lines, which I suppose is a felony. But again, I don't want to speak for the other parties involved.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just a lawyer and a judge. I'm not a person that makes policy, but it just makes no sense to me. Because my understanding of the law, the district attorney is a constitutional officer. Not every state has a solicitor's office. Not every state prosecutes misdemeanors in a separate office. I mean, every county, some counties, they prosecute everything, misdemeanors and felonies. And the fact that I'll leave that alone. Position number 16 is Jeffrey Fair. It's listed as a lister and hold client.
That case has been accused, and he is scheduled for arraignment in front of Judge Garrett on December the 9th.
Okay, thank you. Position number 17 is LeBron Argenis Garcia.
Your Honor, I spoke to Mr. Garcia. It's my understanding that a waiver was filed by our office. However, the case was not bound over. I did speak to Mr. Garcia, and at this point, since it hasn't been bound over, if the court would allow, we would like to go forward with the preliminary hearing. However, in light of the waiver having been filed, if that is not something the court would entertain, I would just request to briefly be heard on the issue of bond.
What's the state's position, Ms. Ponder?
Your Honor, it's the state's position that the defendant has waived his preliminary hearing. And so therefore it has already been waived, and I'm not sure exactly where his case is. I'm not sure if it's in our office. So the state will be objecting to any type of hearing, considering the fact that defense counsel did file a waiver.
Mr. Lynch, was this a situation where your office filed the waiver, or this is a situation where a person waived at first appearance?
Your Honor, if I can look, but I believe our office filed a waiver and it was not waived at first appearance. I would like to verify that. I can't say 100%, but I had information that it had already been waived before I spoke to him, but it just had not been bound over for one reason or another.
Your Honor, if I can just pitch in, it looks like he waived previously. Looks like our office did file that waiver. He was on a preliminary hearing calendar. And so it looks like it's perhaps just for today's, but we did file the waiver, but it was filed earlier and then just never bound over. We would request, Your Honor, if the court does decide not to hear that hearing today, we could go ahead and file another waiver and have you sign it and go ahead and get that filed so that maybe the case will move. Obviously, there's some problem with the paperwork.
Yes, that's where I'm leaning as it relates to this case. If your office filed a waiver, it should have been waived over, sent over to state court. So,
Your Honor, we can send another copy of that waiver for your signature this morning.
if you would, yes, I'll be happy to sign it. Position 19 is David Grover.
Your Honor, I did speak to Mr. Grover. He has not been previously appointed to our office. However, I spoke with him about whether he would want us to be appointed to his case. He did indicate that he did want us to represent him. I mean, that he did want to go forward with a preliminary hearing. I can send over an appointment order briefly if Your Honor is inclined, and I'm prepared to go forward and represent him on his preliminary hearing if that is acceptable to the court.
It's acceptable to me. Yes, sir. Sorry about that. Position number 21 is Corey Hadley.
Your Honor, I did speak to Mr. Hadley, and I did prepare a waiver. He does want to go ahead and waive that over to state court.
Okay. I'm happy to sign. Position 23 is Rain Hart.
Yes, Your Honor, I spoke to Ms. Hart. She does want to go forward with the preliminary hearing.
Okay. Position 25, Eric Hinton.
And yes, Your Honor, I did speak to Mr. Hinton, and he does also wish to go forward with the hearing.
Okay. Position 28 is Armani Jefferson.
Yes, Your Honor. Joel Glaze with Lister and Holt for Mr. Jefferson. We will be requesting that to be a judicial bind over for mental health reasons, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's prepare the paperwork and send it over. I'll sign it. Position 29 is Taji McCray.
That's going to be my case, Your Honor. That's ready for a hearing. That's one of the ones that was continued from last week.
Okay. Position 32, Victor Mejia Nunez.
And that is also my case that was continued from last week. That'll be ready for hearing as well.
Okay. Position 34 is Frederick Poole.
Yes, Your Honor. I spoke with Mr. Poole, and that will be a hearing this morning.
Okay. Position 35 is Robert Ripa.
Your Honor, it's my understanding that Ms. Ripa has not been appointed counsel yet. I attempted to visit him to see if he wanted to be appointed counsel. However, both visits were unsuccessful, Your Honor.
Okay, so he's currently unrepresented.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Do you know if he's choosing or does he have a desire to go forward with the hearing?
I do not, Your Honor. I attempted to visit him twice through the jail visitation system, and both visits were unsuccessful.
Okay, well, we'll bring him up and I'll inquire as to what is his desire directly. Position 36 is Wayne Stern.
Yes, Your Honor. I spoke with Mr. Stern, and that will be a hearing this morning.
Okay. Position 39 is Ramon Wells.
And Your Honor, I spoke with Mr. Wells. That will be a hearing this morning as well.
Okay. Position 43 is Kyria Wimberly.
Your Honor, I spoke with Ms. Wimberly. We would just be requesting that would be a judicial bind over for mental health reasons.
Okay. Send the paperwork on that and I'll sign that also. Okay, that concludes, it appears, what I have on my calendar. Is there anyone that expected a case to be called that was not called?
Your Honor, if I can make an announcement to the court on Mr. Wayne Anthony Stern. I'm not sure the court's position on the calendar because I think my numbers are off, but he's on, I have 34,
Yes.
35, 36. It's my understanding, Your Honor, I just received information from our investigator assistant, is that the officer on this case is unavailable due to technical training. So the state will be requesting a continuance on Mr. Stern's case.
The officer is unavailable because of training.
Due to technical training is my understanding.
Can you explain what technical training is? I don't understand that.
Technical training. I'm not
Oh,
certain, Your Honor,
tactical.
but I can
Tactical.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Was that your case, Mr. Glaze?
It was, Your Honor.
What's your position?
And Your Honor, I would object just because he is still sitting in custody, and I would not want Mr. Stern to continue to sit in custody, but I do understand the state's position and where the court may lean on that, Your Honor.
Ms. Ponder, when did this officer notify your office of the fact that he would be in training?
If I can just have one moment, Your Honor, I can send a message to Mr. Evans in order to get that information. I'll be able to update the court with that information.
Okay. While we're waiting on Ms. Ponder to get that done, is there anyone that needs to speak to their client at the jail?
I did need to attempt to speak to Mr. Clayton, Your Honor. I'm not, I believe that's the only client I need to speak to that I don't have any sort of an announcement for at this point.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'll need to speak to Mr. Balderas Lara.
Okay.
We have had a previous jail visit with him, at which time he did want to go forward with this preliminary hearing, but I just want to verify that with him since we didn't have a visit with him in the last day or two.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Let's see.
I guess, and while I'm in there, I'll just, if I can, just inform also Mr. Garcia that his case will be officially bound over pursuant to the earlier waiver.
Okay. Let me set up these breakout. Yes.
This is the jail. On Mr. Jamal Alexander Clayton, the jail just informed us that he has refused to come to court and that he is refusing to get up to do anything.
That was one of the cases I believe Mr. Lynch wanted to speak to Mr. Clayton.
Yes, Your Honor, that was the same information I got when I attempted to do a jail visit previous to this hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, obviously, if he's not available to speak, I can't speak to him. If he is, I'd like to try, but if it's not possible, I can try to arrange another visit. I guess just go from there.
Well,
Your Honor, I can call back down to the unit to find out if they're gonna try to get him up, and I'll get back with you.
yes, because if he's refusing to come to court and participate, the only thing I can do is bind his case over to state court. I'm not gonna place anybody in a position of trying to drag him out to come to court. I mean, if he doesn't want to come, he doesn't want to come. And that it may be some deeper issues that are related to that may need to get addressed, but I'm not going to place anybody in a position of either placing themselves in harm or placing Mr. Clayton in harm just to bring him to a hearing that he's choosing not to attend. So
Judge.
with that being said, Mr. Lynch, I'm going to wait to hear back from the final announcement from the deputy. And if Mr. Clayton is adamant that he doesn't want to come to court, it's not going to come to court, then I would ask for you to send me a bind over order, and I'll sign it, and hopefully we'll get to the point of having a more sustainable mental health regimen to address the needs of our citizens at some point.
All right, I'm gonna call and I'll give him about 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna stop the live stream.